Hi, Alyson Johnson. Welcome to A.PUTNAM's Women in Golf.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited to get to know you and have you on here. It's been kind of a cool way that I come across wonderful women like you in the industry, and just in all facets of how people are involved in the sport is so fun. So, you are the founder of Gilly Group, a marketing agency, correct?
Yes, started about just under 9 years ago now. So I've worked in golf for about 25 years, but this is my
Mm-hmm.
baby.
Yeah, I love that. That's so fun. And I can't wait to hear more about it and kind of your foundation of where you started, where you're at right now, and then just where you're headed with all that and probably even outside of work. I'm sure you've got, I think, a few kids and life outside of it. So
Yes, we
we're
keep things
excited
busy,
to
that's for sure.
I I know it's an easy thing to do. Never a
And
dull
did I see
moment.
I saw you have 5 boys, is that right?
I do. I have five boys under 10 almost. So,
That
yes.
is impressive. I don't know that
And
my house would have made it through if I had even my 3 kids being all boys. So kudos to
oh,
you for
yes.
sure.
I have people that walk into my house and they're like, "Oh my gosh, why is everything white and you have five boys?"
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that's
You
what
can
they're wondering.
imagine. I've got like a paint pen on call at all times in my kitchen, so just like the only way we can survive.
Fantastic.
I know. Well, let's get into it. I would love to just start, and we almost always do with our ladies, is just asking how you were introduced to the sport of golf.
Sure. So I grew up, my father and my uncle were big golfers. It
Hmm.
wasn't really my thing, but I like to go to the range and that kind of stuff and mess around. But it wasn't until I was in college and undergrad, I thought that I wanted to be a sports psychologist and was like, who would pay me right after school? Who's going to pay me the most to do this? And I figured golf was where it was at. So I kind of set my sights there and
Oh, that's
started
cool.
playing and working in golf and kind of never looked back. So.
So, and I found just from a very high surface level, getting to know you out there and making sure that I had some good questions for you and so that our community can get to know you better too. So, we have one thing in common, if not a few other things, but we both went to Syracuse for
Fantastic.
undergrad,
Yeah,
right? I
I
know.
love Syracuse. Yeah, I was up there recently I drove up to Rochester for the PGA Championship and
Hmm.
stopped in to kind of check it out, grab my kids some swag. And,
Oh,
I think I
cute.
took for granted how gorgeous it is there because
Yeah,
I was surprised by how beautiful it was. So it was nice to
isn't
kind of
it?
make a pass through.
Oh, I love that. And has it changed a lot?
I think a lot about the surrounding area has. M
Hmm.
Street, I was a little taken aback as to where we used to always hang out was gone, but
Yeah.
it was a fun time for sure. And I still keep in touch
Oh,
with a
that's
lot of people
cool.
from school, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, that's
Isn't
awesome.
that
You
neat?
went there too.
We just had a really cool trunk show at Oak Hill, and it was the week after the PGA Championship. So I didn't quite make it all the way from Cleveland to Syracuse. I stopped in Rochester, but I roped in two of my best friends from Syracuse to help me at the show since
Oh,
they're
that's great.
in the vicinity. So we had kind of a little Syracuse moment. So it's neat that you still have
Awesome.
those two.
Yeah, I love it.
Very cool.
Fantastic.
So, what was your undergrad at Syracuse?
I went for psychology, thinking I wanted to be sports
You
psych, and
did.
then I went
Okay.
to Temple
Okay.
for grad school for sports psychology while I was working full time at the New Jersey State Golf Association as well. So kind of
Got
went right
it.
into it.
And that's so first job out of college, I guess let's say grad school, what were you doing?
So I started at New Jersey State Golf Association,
Hmm.
being the head of communications, and after my first year there, I became tournament director. I got certified as a personal trainer when I first got out of school as well. So while I was going through
Hmm.
my grad program at Temple for sports psychology, during the weekdays, I was running our state tournaments. So we had, I think, 15 championships at that point in qualifiers and the media side. And then on the weekends, I would work with professional and amateur golfers on mind and body golf. So personal training, sports psychology, that kind of thing. I very quickly realized, even though I still got my degree in sports psychology, I realized I really fell in love with the business side of golf and tournament side.
Mm-hmm.
So decided to stick with that, and ended up going to the
Gotcha.
PGA of America next, running the PGA Championship at Baltusrol, marketing and sales, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So
Yes,
it
it
was
did. You were
it
like,
was a lot of fun.
that's so cool. So you found a place for golf, and in that process, did you start playing more?
I did. I was very fortunate, though, at the time, I would not have told you that that was the case, in that at New Jersey State Golf, our executive director knew I was taking lessons, knew I was starting
Hmm.
to, want to play and that kind of stuff. And there were days that I would show up at work and he'd be like, okay, I don't need you today. I signed you up and you're playing in this event or you're going and playing in this outing. And I'd be like, oh my God. It was the worst, and so I'd stop on my way and buy a whole bunch of Pro V1s and be like, I'm sorry you have to play with me. I'm sorry you have to play with me. I'm brand new to this. And, it was
I like
really,
that tactic.
he like threw me in the deep end, which was
Hmm.
in the moment really humbling and terrifying. But, I'm really
Yeah,
grateful for it because it made me
yeah,
really comfortable playing in any situation and, getting more comfortable with not being perfect, right? Because it's like
yeah. That's
it's
the hardest thing
one of
about
those
that
things. It's
sport.
like you're, especially I think as a woman, you're working so hard to like
Hmm.
be really professional and be taken seriously, and then you're like, oh my God, I'm
Yeah.
terrible at this. But it was a lot of fun, and it ended up that,
Hmm.
I mean, I didn't play around a golf with women until just a few years ago,
That's
because I was
crazy.
so used to playing with men and so used to playing with
Yeah,
pros, and it was just really he just threw me into it and it was what worked for me.
yeah,
So it's good that in seeing how many business opportunities actually occur at outings and all of
yeah.
that kind of stuff, I'm
Hmm.
really, really grateful that he put me in that position because I've met a lot of fabulous people
Absolutely.
because of it and had a lot of opportunity for sure.
Well, I think it's so cool, I think, to hear that angle. And for any, I think, female golfer out there, from those beginners to not, just that I think for the most part, everybody's very accepting of a new golfer in the mix. I think even on the female side, even more. And I was thrown into it a little bit. I played very casually growing up, got away from it when I was playing college sports and things like that. And one of my first few jobs out of college, I was thrown into, these outings, all men. And
Hmm.
I wouldn't change it for a thing because it helped me, I think, from the networking side, get to know these
Sure.
people outside of work. And then I was so nervous. I was like, I am not that good a golfer. My ball's going to be everywhere. They're going to be so annoyed with me. And I think it was quite the opposite. Like, it
Yeah,
certainly gets you into certain conversations you wouldn't get to have. It,
absolutely.
and I think, like I said, I just think there was an acceptance there that I didn't think would be there. And it's nice to hear that you had kind of the same experience.
Yeah,
So, and
absolutely.
obviously that's entrenched you in the sport and grown your experience and all that. So, that's really fun to hear, and I think good for everybody else to hear too, that you don't have to be perfect. Not hardly anybody is at this sport.
Exactly
So, it
right.
is all about having fun, and there's nothing better, I think, in the whether you're playing golf or just what I found working in the industry so far, and it's really only been since January when I launched the brand, that uh, it's a I mean, every industry has an element of networking, but I think golf is all about relationships, and
100%.
people put so much value in that and are helpful, and it's amazing. And you kind of have that, oh, it's who you know, and that helps immensely, I think, in this world, because everybody's open, I
Absolutely.
think, for the most part, to networking in
Well, and you
that
get to
sense.
know a lot about a person when you play golf with them, right? How they
Oh
carry
yes,
themselves,
yes,
how they handle stress, if
yep,
they're on the up and up. It's
yep,
all about who you are, and for sure, it is a lot about who you know. I mean, I
yeah,
look at the people that I still do business with, and a lot of them I've known since I was 21, 22 years old, which is
yeah.
incredible. It's like it's a very small industry,
Hmm.
and those relationships are really important.
They are, and it's funny that something you said resonates with me, because my dad always said, and I've got two brothers, but I he always brought me into playing golf with him, and I was when I was younger, and saying the same thing. It's a really amazing sport where you learn people's character on the course,
Hmm.
and
Absolutely.
he always felt like that. in a business sense, you could always tell um, how somebody would be, and that whether trustworthy, honest, like all these little
Yeah, it's good
very
insight
important
for sure.
character and values. Yeah, so that's cool. That resonates with me a lot. But so from there, did you go right into, as you went through and managed these tournaments and all these events, were you then, where did Gilly Group start? Is this kind of, was that kind of a next step for you?
It wasn't. So my mom is an entrepreneur. She owns a very
Mm-hmm.
successful educational consulting business, and so I kind of
Oh,
always knew
neat.
growing up I wanted to be a boss. I just didn't know at what.
Yeah.
And after PGA Championship, I knew that I wanted to do something in the space that was mine.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to also differentiate myself, being a woman in a male
Yeah.
dominated field. It was
Yep.
really important to me that I knew what I was talking about and that I had kind of a different perspective of things. So I wanted to make sure I had a
Mm-hmm.
360-degree view. So I wanted to have every angle covered. So I already had tournament director, I had working in an academy, I had the sports psych, I had all that good stuff, running a major. I wanted to then go and I went to Hamilton Farm Golf Club, which so I could be in-house and work at a club, a private high-end
Oh,
club,
neat.
$300,000 membership at that point in time. And I ran the HSBC Women's World Match Play Championship, which was on the
Wow.
LPGA on behalf of the club, which gave
Mm-hmm.
me a totally different experience,
Yeah.
which was fantastic. It's here in New Jersey. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous spot, very
Mm-hmm.
exclusive and not a lot of rounds played, but I mean, fabulous, fabulous place.
Right.
After that, I needed the sponsor side. So I went to when I had my first child, I went to Wyndham Worldwide Corporate, which is no longer, but it was 3 business units. We had over 60 brands. And they had just signed to do the Wyndham Championship on the PGA Tour. So I figured I'd get in there and
Gotcha.
work on that. So I did, which was awesome. Stayed a little bit longer than I should have. I was there for about 9 years, but I kept
Mm-hmm.
getting different experiences. So by the time that I left, I was the global head of marketing, communications, digital, philanthropy,
Jeez.
CSR. I launched our CSR efforts. I launched our foundation. I did everything on the PGA Tours, Wyndham Championship, our programs at Augusta for the Masters, our athlete deals, crisis communications, all that kind of good stuff. One sponsor of the year from the PGA Tour and was like, all right, I'm done.
Oh, cool.
Left and started Gilly Group then. And so we really focus on building brands and businesses in
Mm-hmm.
golf and through golf. So
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a golf endemic, I have, for example, I'm the acting CMO of OptiShot Golf, which is a golf simulator.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So for them being in the golf space, it's how do we sell that product to golfers and
Right.
do brand deals and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We just launched some really cool new software that we're very excited about that's got in
Oh, congrats.
a whole gaming component and stuff. So that's been giving me a lot
Oh,
of
neat.
really different experiences to keep sinking my teeth
Yeah.
into, which is awesome. And then projects that are things like going to the PGA Championship or going to the Masters.
Mm-hmm.
We also do behind the scenes work for some brands and working
Yep.
with influencers. And then I represent some talent on the broadcast side and players. We've got all kinds of really fun stuff going on. So it keeps us busy for
That's
sure.
incredible. I mean, I feel like we could rewind and probably have a 2-hour conversation about what happened between, before even getting to Gilly Group, because it's so neat. And I think it's such a way, I mean, and that's obviously your entrepreneurial spirit of, how do I learn and become maybe not an expert, but really get a foundation in all of these areas to then build on that. And I mean, not necessarily sell your knowledge, but the ability to support others and things you've
Sure.
seen and learned. So,
Well, it's
and you're
nice because
obviously passionate about it.
I see it differently, right? So it's like I know what's
Yeah.
going to work with different audiences because I've worked with all
Right.
of them and I've built those
Mm-hmm.
relationships. We talk about the relationships. I
Yeah.
still have really solid relationships at the PGA of America and the USGA and the
Yeah.
PGA Tour. And that's important in this business because even
Absolutely.
though a lot of things are so siloed, we're all working with the same population, which is golfers, right? And at the end of
Yeah.
the day, we all
Yeah.
want to grow the game and get more people into this because we love it so
Mm-hmm.
much.
Right. Right. So I have to ask, and it's just a kind of something I'm curious about. In terms of the companies you work with, is there a percentage of which are either owned by women or you're working with women in the space? It's probably a tough one.
I don't, I'm radical. I'm going through really quick. I
Yeah.
represent some women on the talent
Yeah.
side.
Mm-hmm.
Chantel McCabe, who's just such a doll and one of my favorite human
Oh,
beings. We're
cool.
working on quite
Oh,
a
I
few
love
things
that.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't work with any brands right now that are women owned. I helped
Yep.
one apparel brand get out of
Mm-hmm.
equestrian and kind of into golf through my
Oh,
connections.
cool. Mm-hmm.
I work unofficially with golf for her with Christina Thompson just because she's a dear
Oh,
friend of mine.
sure.
So we try to work together wherever we can.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
Because there are so few women in the space. That number's changing for
Right.
sure. But she and I are
Yeah,
kind
it
of
is.
we're on the older side now, so it's nice
But like
to have
partners in
her
crime.
in my
That's,
corner.
yeah. I love that.
But it's great seeing more and more women enter the
Mm-hmm.
golf industry because though it still happens a lot. I mean, as I was growing up in the industry, I was almost always the only woman in the room. And so to see that
Yeah.
change
Yeah.
is really awesome.
It is. And I've seen it. I've just, from the research leading up to my launch, and that was probably about a year and a half that I worked from concept to launch. Um, it's changed and there's new people that pop up. And while I'm, very honed in on kind of the apparel retail side of things, even in that space, like I've met some incredible women and brands. And
Yep,
I
absolutely.
would say for the most part, everybody's really supportive and we're all just taking a different angle and approach to the sport and the clothing around it. And it's so fun because I would say that everybody's pretty supportive and we're all kind of in it together to prove, that we want to be here and stay. And there's a reason why, this is
Right.
needed. So it's really cool to hear that you're obviously seeing the same and you have the opportunity to stay close with those women that you've built
Yeah, it's
relationships with.
important. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so easy to pit women against each other, and the only way we're all going to make it in
Yeah.
this industry is to support
Yeah.
one another.
Right. Yep. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And it is. I mean, it's a competitive space, but it's nice to see that the numbers of women golfing are growing, and so there's a lot going on, and it's fun to be
Always.
a part of it and meet women like you too that have had just have been rooted in it for some time and really seeing the evolution of it. So that's really neat. Now, do you still work with? I mean, I guess more of your experience of being in PGA and then having the opportunity nearby to work with LPGA events. Have you stayed close to working within the LPGA?
I don't typically work with the LPGA. I'm
Mm-hmm.
more on the PGA Tour and PGA of America side. But,
Yeah.
I have some dear friends who run a lot of the women's tournaments, and they're killing it,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
awesome
that's
to
neat.
see, and to see people getting more excited about the women. There's a lot of great
Right.
storylines right now. I was just at
Mm-hmm.
Baltusrol last week for the women's PGA, which is awesome.
Oh,
I
cool.
mean, being in New
Yep.
Jersey, we've got, some big tournaments that we've had this year.
Yeah.
Mizuno Open was here. We've got the Founders Cup. We've
Mm-hmm.
got ShopRite Classic. We've got now the Women's PGA. And then I'm on the board for New
Yeah.
Jersey State Golf Association. And we just had
Oh,
our first
yeah.
ever Women's Open last week. So, the women's game is
That's cool.
strong and growing. And we just
Mm-hmm.
need people to support that in a way that can help us to continue to grow it because these female players are phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the marketing around it and social media, I think makes watching these women just easier and more accessible. And so it's exciting to see that that's growing and they're getting a little bit of that spotlight, which is wonderful. They're incredible athletes. Like there's so much talent there. And I haven't been to any women's event yet and is high on my list actually.
Yeah, you have to get
To
there
time it
for
out with my
sure.
travels, but right, right. Because it's I'm sure they've got those events feel different than your PGA, big events, but I can't wait to be a part of that as well. That'll be really neat.
Great.
So, one question we always ask is just getting to know you from your style standpoint, and that's kind of your off the course. What's your go-to aesthetic or brands? And then on the course, do you have favorite pieces or, and you don't speak to brands necessarily, but you're welcome
Sure.
to on what you are comfortable golfing in and all that.
So I spend a
Loaded
lot of
question.
time I spend a lot of time on the golf course not playing
Hmm.
and going for meetings and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm a dress every day kind of girl, especially when I'm traveling,
Uh-huh.
just because it's easy. I travel a ton.
Yeah.
I traveled, I think, almost every week up until now, and it'll slow down for a little bit over the summer.
Oh my
And
gosh.
my go-to is a dress and a sweater
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah.
And playing golf, I really love simple,
Hmm.
athletic wear on the course that is
Yeah.
predominantly dresses, but if not,
Yeah.
definitely a skirt. I will say
Right.
though, cold weather golf, I'm like, I will layer up in 15 things. I'm ridiculous. I
It's-
have leg warmers. I have all kinds of stuff because I'll play. I just
yeah.
look like
And
I'm
there's nothing
homeless.
worse than
But
being frozen. Yeah.
yeah,
There's
can't
not, it's
stand that. So
very, very hard to look put together and cute when you've got all those
exactly,
layers. And
exactly.
I get it.
It's really important for me to feel like I look professional, even if I'm on the
Yeah.
course,
Right.
just because I am a business owner and I am representing other brands and
Right.
people. And so I want to make
Hmm.
sure that that is still my
Yeah.
personal brand, whether I'm playing or at meetings or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really neat. That resonates with me as well in terms of needing kind of that versatility out of your pieces so that you're speaking to both your personal style, but the function of what
Sure.
you're doing. So,
Hmm.
no, that's really neat. I love that. And it's now you've got three kids, right?
I do. Two boys and a girl.
Two boys and a girl. And are they of an age that it's a little easier for you to travel?
Yes, I have a
Uh-huh.
16, a 14, and 11. Now,
Oh,
what
they're
makes
pretty
it really
close.
easy for me to travel is I'm divorced, so they go to their dads during the week for Tuesdays and
And
Wednesdays.
you're,
So I try to like keep my travel to that.
yeah, yeah.
That said, I'm
That helps.
moving to Florida at the end of this summer, and then I'm on
Oh
my
my
own
gosh.
completely with them. So that I
Yeah.
have to figure out the travel part, but it
Yeah.
definitely, I promise you, it gets easier with that stuff as they get older.
I'm
For
sure.
sure, for sure. And, my kids,
I've
I've
got
been
a
traveling since my kids were little, so they're very used to
used to it.
when they're with dad,
Yeah.
mom's traveling.
Yeah, right. And that's nice to have that balance. And I always tell people it's a team effort, one way or the other,
Yeah,
or it just
totally.
takes a village. I,
Yes, it
uh,
certainly does, which as a culture,
oh,
unfortunately, we're tending to get away from. So we got to bring that back in. It's like you got to
I
make your
know.
village if you don't have one.
Right. I know, I do. And I don't know, do your kids play sports?
They do. Yeah. So we've got all kinds of stuff
Yeah.
going on here. We've got horseback
Right.
riding, hunter jumper, we've got
Oh my
fencing and
gosh.
golf and football and
Yeah,
active a
it's
lot.
nonstop.
Active, active,
Yeah,
active, which is good.
I know. I lean on fellow moms a lot. There's a lot of like, all right, who's taking Wit after football? You've got them. I'll pick them up later. Like it is when you say
Yeah,
creating
whatever
that
you got to do
village,
to
it's
balance it.
essential. Yeah, to
Hmm.
survive. I agree. And my little kids are they're and like I said, 10 to 3, so they're still sad when mom, leaves for a
Yeah,
trip and when are you going to be
you're in the
back?
thick of
And
it.
the 5-year-old doesn't, hear one word out of your mouth other than you're gone. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, my
we are.
11-year-old is my equestrian, and so she's
Yeah.
like, I'm not coming home, I'm at the barn. And she's just, I
Oh,
mean, for days
totally
she'll stay
content.
there if I let her. So that obsession, I
That's
will
nice.
say, though it's
Has come in
fierce, it is
handy.
very helpful when it comes to work.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's so, so good. So, one other question we ask typically is if you have a favorite course you've played or if you have one on your bucket list.
Well, I mean, Baltusrol is certainly a favorite for me,
Yeah.
not only from working there for PGA Championship, but everyone you ever play with there who's not been there before, it's like one of those
Mm-hmm.
ones that they cry. I mean, I remember taking my dad
Oh,
for Father's Day one year, and he was like, if he didn't cry 4 times, it was a miracle.
that's so cool.
Um, but it's gorgeous and
Yeah.
it's so well taken care of. The
Yeah.
membership is really nice. It's just one of those places where like you step on the property and you're like, I love that it's a little more formal. I like that
Yeah.
you need to, dress appropriately. I like that your
Right.
phones are away and just the
Yeah.
history of it. And then my personal history there, So I would have to say that that's
Right.
probably my number one favorite.
I love that. And this is the best part. Everybody's got, I think, a personal tie or reason for calling out what their favorite course is. So it's neat. We always like to feature them on on Instagram here, like in the same week that we'll post this. And
Sure.
because it's neat to open people to just different spots and why
Yep.
it's loved.
Well, and it's
And
funny because
it's neat.
it's all about your personal experience, right? It's like on the other
Yeah.
hand, our local Muni course is one of my favorites too, because
Isn't that
like during
awesome?
COVID, I took my kids there all the time because they could drive the cart and run
Yeah.
around. And,
Mm-hmm.
my middle son, Cooper, had never played before, and he's so used to
Oh,
seeing
cool.
golf from me, right? So either on TV or at
Yeah.
my tournaments. And he was like, I don't know if I
Yeah.
can play. I can't get it in that good. And I was like, nobody can.
Oh,
That's the pros. Like, just come play.
yeah.
And on his second
That's
hole,
neat.
he parred it and was like, he
Oh,
fell for golf.
stop.
So
Hooked.
that's one of my
I'm gonna
favorite
do
spots
this.
too, because it's like, so you
That
got the
is.
flip
That's
side. Ball just
really,
rolling local Muni.
yeah, you do. But that, I think, oh my gosh, yeah. Golf during COVID was it was a great outlet for a lot of people. And it's obviously why the numbers just kept growing. So,
Yes, for sure.
yeah, not a bad thing at all. So I have to ask, and this is a little bit of, hearing your background, where you are with Gilly Group. What's kind of next for you? Do you have any big projects you can share or anything you're really focused on in, I guess, as a mom or professional career?
I would, so like I said, I'm moving to Florida, so that's like a massive
Hmm.
shift
It
for
is.
me.
Uh-huh.
So right now I'm like, okay, who can I target in Florida too that I don't know about yet, which is exciting.
Yeah, it's
So
like
I've
a whole
got a
new
couple things. So
territory.
one is in being on the board for New Jersey State Golf Association, and I'll still live up here in
Hmm.
the summers. I'm doing their anniversary. I'm chairing their committee for our big
Cool.
125th anniversary, which is fun because I
Hmm.
did the last anniversary, was my first job there. So
Oh, neat.
we're already planning for a lot of really big things there, which will be really fun to celebrate just the history of golf in New Jersey and all that kind of good stuff. And we have
Yeah.
so many phenomenal courses here. So that'll be a lot of fun and bring back a lot of my old buddies,
Hmm.
which is fun.
Yeah.
One of the other projects that I have going on right now that I'm really excited about because it's a game changer for the industry is it's called Carry, Carry, Carry Golf, and it brings
Hmm.
together investors and big tour hopefuls. So both on the men's and women's
Interesting.
side. So we just had it's our second year, and our first year we had big angel investors to sponsor these
Hmm.
10. I think we had 8 athletes then. This year we have 10, and it was crowd-funded investing. So
Neat.
totally
Huh.
different, really, really mind-blowing, to be honest, to see the way that people responded to this because it is so
Right.
different. People are used to like GoFundMe. This is an actual, you are an investor. Even if it's
Yeah.
only at a $250 level, you are now a part of these
Cool.
professional athletes' team, right? Which is really cool.
So different.
So they
That's
get
me.
access.
Congratulations.
It's really exciting. And I think that, as we
Mm.
continue to grow that, it is hard to become a professional athlete on the
Yeah.
PGA Tour, and
Yeah.
even harder, I would say, on the LPGA.
Hmm.
And it costs a lot of money. It is a lot of work and tenacity that goes into it, and these
Yeah.
athletes need support. And so if we can make this an easily digestible thing for the golf fan to understand,
Yeah.
I think we will kill it, and these athletes will have more and more opportunity. So
That's so cool.
it's a lot of fun. It's really awesome to see just how it's been received, and to continue to grow it
Yeah.
will be a fun thing to do.
That's amazing. And it's funny. I've had a number of people tell me like that have not been in the industry or not golfers watching something like Full Swing, and it's a little bit of that like Formula One thing where people just don't understand what goes into it, how
Yep.
competitive it is. Um, that many of these players are paying their way, right? Like to be at
Yeah.
these tournaments and all that. So it's fascinating, and that is so cool that you're building something that can provide some support that they'd otherwise, I mean, be hard to
Yeah.
find. Really,
It's exciting. Yeah,
that's so
I'm really
neat.
happy about it. It's a lot of fun.
Cool. Well, you've got, it seems like a lot of irons in the fire, and a move in the mix is always daunting for no matter what you have on
Shake
your
it up.
plate. I know, but it also seems like you can handle probably just about anything. So
We're getting there. Yeah, so it's a great golf
like deep
season,
breath.
and there's So many
Yeah.
new things coming into the market. It's really exciting to see, and it's a
Hmm.
fantastic time to be in the golf industry.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Do you ever go to any of the PGA, I mean, shows like Orlando's
Like,
PGA show? Do
yeah,
you?
I had a lot of clients there this past year. Yeah, I think I've been going for like 20 something years now.
Oh my
It's a
gosh. So
good
you've
one.
seen the ups and downs. I
Yeah,
hear, and this was my
it's fun.
first year actually ever going when we launched,
Oh, what'd you
and
think?
it was so much fun. I mean, I feel like I didn't eat or sleep hardly all week. So by the end of
Yeah.
the week, I was just worn out. But it's like total adrenaline and like you said, just amazing people that you meet right and
Hmm.
left, and it's a really cool atmosphere. I'm sure after 20 some
Yeah, it's
years it'll get
fantastic.
old, right?
You know what? It's like I always joke that I know more people at the PGA show than in my hometown and college at Syracuse combined,
I don't
because
doubt
yeah,
it.
and it's phenomenal. It's like a reunion every year,
Yes.
so you don't get
Yeah.
sick of it, which is nice.
Well, that's good to hear. Good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to. We're going to the Frisco show, which, moved from Vegas. So
Fantastic.
that'll be,
Wait
I can't
until you
wait to
see
see.
that property.
I
That property
know.
is magnificent.
I know. I can't wait. That's such the lure,
Yeah,
too. I think they made such a good call moving it to Frisco. So we're
it's
excited to be a part of that.
spectacular.
Yeah, I'm sure. I can't wait. And that's around the corner. And then we'll be back at the PGA show. So I hear that this year was better than the last couple of years of COVID and all that. So
Yeah,
sounds
COVID
like
was
it'll
a
just
little, it
keep
was a
coming
little weird.
back. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But it's fun to have that comeback and everything settle. So hopefully no other
Yeah,
disasters in
all good
on
things. Yeah,
our
knock on wood.
horizon. I know. Well, Allison, I'm sure there's so much more we could dig into, but I think it's been so nice to get to know you and just your influence on the sport and your love for it. Like you've got it.
Yeah.
It's not going away.
Well, I really
But
appreciate you reaching out. This was fun. Thank you.
yeah, likewise. We'll have to get you some A.PUTNAM gear to try out. So for
Sounds
those
good.
days on the course that you've got to look the part,
I love it.
player
Thank
and
you.
businesswoman. Absolutely. Thanks so much,
Thank you.
Allison.
Thank you. Thanks so much for your time.